Welcome to the Inspired Evolution, and it is such a treat to be here today because we have the bias from none other than Liza Joyan. Lisa, how are you?
I am absolutely stoked to be here with you. So excited. I'm not going to do that scream even though I practice.
Oh, please? No, I'm kidding. Oh, you practiced. Now we're all waiting for... No, okay, I won't put you there. I want you to be as comfortable as possible for the interview, so let's not make you uncomfortable from the outset. For those tuning in to Lisa for the first time, she's happily married and blessed with two beautiful daughters, and I think this is... says a lot about Lisa and her energy. The fact that this is at the top of her bio, really nurturing vibes, really beautiful soul. And she was born in Afghanistan, raised in Australia, lived in Canada for 12 years, and now she's back in Australia. We've got ya. She's got a real kite runner story with a happy ending. She graduated with economics and business law. Her work background is in risk and compliance. An interesting story. We're going to get into that. She's worked for senior corporate levels, both in the private and public sectors. And she's been helping business owners with customer retention and follow-up strategies now for 6 years using philosophies and high-tech, high-touch relationship systems. She's part of a global network where she's helped businesses experience anywhere from 20% to 400% growth using certain philosophies of relationship building. Gratitude is a part of that, which I can't wait to get into, reciprocity and online tools. She's established teams in her network marketing business across 6 countries. 2016 Global Ambassador of the Year award winner for her company. Simply for expanding her business, which is as the founder of A Designer Life. This is a personal brand which will eventually lead to a book and other online educational material. The aim of all of this is to help people design their own life instead of being dictated, by other people's designs and constructs. She lives through 3 words: freedom, contribution, and fun. I love this. It is such a treat to have you here.
It's so exciting to be with you.
So let's I like to start these usually quite lighthearted, but let's go straight into the mix of things. So you've obviously got quite a tapestry for a background in terms of where you've lived, where you've come from, Afghanistan, then Canada, now Australia, then back, and then all this sort of stuff. But I'm really keen to dive into your work history, just a little bit, just to see how you've been negotiating your relationship with the world, how you've been showing up, and that sort of stuff. So you went from working high levels of corporate and servicing the public sector and private sector to then your own unique offering, which I can't wait to discuss. Can you tell us more about what landed you in corporate and how much it seems obviously knowing a little bit that would have been a massive blessing for you at the time to be off working on such a high level and doing something that at the time would have serviced you so well, but then there was this shift.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'd love to. By the way, first I want to say thank you so much for this opportunity. I'm really honored. I mean, I truly believe you're going to be one of the thought leaders in this space in the future, and I'm so excited to watch your journey and see you grow and make such a big impact. So thank you for having me part of this.
Super humble.
So just my work history and why I ended up picking the corporate life that I did was really just the life that was designed for us, right? You go to school, and being from an immigrant family, my father instilled in us the power of ensuring that we make the most of the opportunity that we have presented here for us in Australia. Obviously, being from Afghanistan, we came from a land of no opportunity to a land of great opportunities. And he said, make sure, you take advantage. So I did what any, typical school girl does. I worked hard at school and got the grades to be able to go to do economics and business law. Graduated, went into corporate life. That's really kind of, that journey of living life from what was expected of me, and not because of my parents, but because of society. And you don't know any different. And I'm not regretting it because it was a blessing, and it's really who's defined me today. But did that the normal things that you do. I have to admit that I was extremely blessed, always the youngest person in the room. So I was always aspiring to do more, be more, even in my corporate roles. And both worked in corporate in Australia and in Canada. And in terms of just why the shift, should I go into that as to why the shift?
Please, yeah.
Why the shift? I mean, straight away, as soon as I started my corporate life, and you've got to remember, I worked one of my first, I guess, bigger titles was with a company that's global, and they were massive, and they were dynamic, they were huge. However, I truly believe the corporations that have been created that are so large, I immediately felt the lack of soul in there. I could feel it, and I, in fact, told people, I'm doing really well. I know this is kind of where I am, but I know this is not for me in the long term. I want to do more. I want to having the privileges of living in Australia, I know that my life is a gift and that I want to do more in contribution. So did what I need to do. And I was sitting, in fact, I don't know if you've had these moments where they're clearly defining moments that you get a message and everything's going to be different.
Yeah,
I know you probably had many of those.
I've had a couple of those.
So I was in Toronto, newly married to my husband, and I was in my corporate role. I was very, very blessed that got a great position in Toronto with the company I was working for. And on the 31st floor of the tallest building in downtown Toronto, I was looking out my window, and all I could see was just space. There was nothing else because we were so up high. And I looked outside my window from my office, and I thought, wow, there's a whole world out there. And I just looked at the lives of my colleagues who were 10, 15, 20 years senior to me. And I thought, I really don't want to be in this office for that long, like these guys. Like, I just couldn't see myself sitting there. Suddenly, the walls of my office ended up feeling more like a prison cell. And I don't mean to be ungrateful for that. It's just that it felt like that at that moment. I felt trapped, that I would have to come to an office every single day for the rest of my life. So in that moment, I just kind of, without even thinking, I turned around, and there was a empty notepad on my desk, and my hands picked up the pen. My hand picked up the pen, and I wrote 3 words without even thinking, and that was freedom, contribution, and fun. And I realized that those 3 things were missing out of my life. So that moment was really a defining moment, and I thought, what can I do to make sure those things are in my life? And we'll talk about this later, but coming full circle now, freedom means completely something different to what it did to me back then. Contribution means something different to what it does. So, of course, we're all on this learning journey. But really, that's what started my initiative and my inspiration to be able to live a different life. And it took me a few years after that, because, you kind of develop the guts.
Yeah. No, that's a massive part of it as well, yeah.
Yeah, to jump out of corporate life. But what I did do is within about a couple of years after that role, I went into government in Canada. And that was really to fulfill the contribution factor of that 3 words.
Uh-huh.
And I thought, I'm going to be a public servant, and I'm going to serve the public, and, just make a real difference. And you should have seen me. I think there was a few people laughing at me when I first joined. I was like this eager, like I still am eager. I love learning, but I was like, oh my God, like I'm here. I can make a difference, all these people. Yeah. And so that's what I did. And that's what led to my life in public life. In public service.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. There is so much in that. Something I want to ask, there's one thing I wanted to reflect on was just that awareness of the lack of soul in the corporation, and just sort of that moment. I have a very similar experience. It was actually for me. I remember the very first day I came face to face with my regional director. And I just remember just noticing that this is where this, just the essence of the corporate ladder, right? I just felt this is where this goes to. And just looking at the individual there, and I was just like, your values are not aligned with my values in any way, you know? And so it was very difficult to source inspiration from the individual that he was. But at the same time, I was subscribed to a corporate ladder that was taking me to there. And for a big time, you know, like you said, this takes a while to take the change. For a big time, I thought perhaps, you know, that was the role of the next generation. Perhaps every generation felt like this in the corporate system and machine, that, you know, we will be the ones to make the change that we wish to see in the world. And that's been my thing forever, you know, like ever since I've had, this sounds silly, but ever since there's been a Facebook page or whatever, like it's been my little thing, you know, we must be the change we wish to see in the world, you know, and that's just been the intention.
Oh, I love that quote.
Yeah, you know, again, it's like it's just so much responsibility, so much optimism, so much just, you know, like, hey, yeah, behind that. So that was kind of what was guiding me forward. But at the same time, I realized that, you know, after having been there, I think you touched on this as well, like things don't happen overnight, even like your moment of awakening. And this is really what I wanted to ask you, like, you know, was there some things that were leading into that, or was it just like a clear moment you were just staring out and it just went like, you know, something's not right? Or was there something that like some sort of shift, or some things were already like happening in your personal life, or something else?
Yeah, absolutely. A great question, because obviously having worked in the corporate field for a few years, I just want to touch on, before I answer that question, I want to touch on something else that you said that's really important, that you felt that your values were not aligned with your someone you reported to.
Regional director, yeah.
Yeah, what happens is in the corporate world, really the human element has to be taken out in order for that corporation to survive. And so most people don't even know their value systems within that. And they have to kind of chuck them out the window to be able to operate at the best interest of the corporation. And so there is no space for the soul. There's no space for, and that's why I think corporations are struggling to keep the millennials interested and engaged, because they're from a generation where their parents have had the material things that my parents didn't have, and we didn't necessarily have. So they're like, you know what? I've got the car, I've got the life. Like I'm not really interested in my parents' life. I'm interested in meaning. And so I think that there's going to be an evolution in how we establish business. There's going to be, I believe, this is my personal opinion, there's no facts behind this, but I truly have a sense and an intuition that the future of business is going to have to be something that is on a smaller scale, but done with individuals like you who is making a big impact, right? Like it's not going to be the same, because we're not going to be able to have employees. And first of all, artificial intelligence is going to get rid of a lot of that employee stuff. But secondly, the way people live, like it's just not going to be fulfilling enough. So based on that, what led, and I think your question is perfect, because what led me to that point was little things like that. However, this is why there is so much triumph and good in tragedy and in challenge. And as long as when we're going through a challenge, we try to say, where's the gift in this? Where's the gift in this? I didn't know that at the time, but I know that now. Whenever I have a challenge, I try to remember, what's the gift in this? What's the message in this? And so for me personally, I come from a family of 8 kids. And my parents we have a very tight-knit family. Well, my dad worked hard to get us all out of Afghanistan here.
That's
my mom and dad.
A lot of family members.
Yeah, I'm very blessed. And I was the first one to leave the family, like the black sheep, and move all the way to Canada. And the personal impact on, like, first one to kind of leave the nest. And having that distance between me and my family, who I was extremely close to, although the choice was mine, I did choose to move. It had a really big impact on me. So emotionally, it was really tough. Suddenly, the network that was supporting me, my family and my friends, it was just not there. And I didn't want to be a little kid and say, I want to go back to my family. So I wanted to be tough. I wanted to grow as an individual and just bear through that. But I think that why that was for me challenging made me realize I want want freedom to be able to just jump on a plane and go and see them when I need to. But this job was holding me down for two reasons. Number one, I had to make sure my holidays fit into everyone else's schedule, and which is fine. That's the way. But it wasn't fine for me. Number two, financially, it was going to be. I couldn't just go a couple of times a year. It was, it doesn't matter how much money you're making in corporate life. Your income bracket is determined by someone else, and maybe that you don't want. So that difficulty that I was going through caused me to say, what is it that I could have in my life to be able to have the things that I want? And it was truly came down to freedom. That I wanted time freedom, I wanted financial freedom, I wanted all of those. I didn't realize to attain all of those, you needed personal freedom.
That's such a deep poem. That's a great point to leave that on. Yeah, because again and again, it's the reflection of what's inside that's outside, and it's like the deep inner work that we need to do to sort of continue to realign, how our relationship with ourselves is, and that reflects our relationship with the world. So that whole journey of like finding your own personal freedom and getting really aligned with, what is it that my freedom looks like? And then, because ultimately, like I even look at myself now as an entrepreneur, and there is like I spend a lot of time doing stuff, like actively engaged. Some would argue I spend more time on my work now than I did previously, but I feel free because it's what lights me up. It's what's bringing me joy, So it's like, yeah, sure. Let's like even this right now, like I'm having a ball of a time having this conversation with you. So yeah, it's interesting, getting really clear on that inner outer stuff. There's something that you hit, and I had this penny drop. Is you were talking in the corporation stuff, something about cooperation, which came out with corporation, and we've I think we had a riff on this previously as well, just in terms of like where artificial intelligence is taking us. And I know it's just your opinion, but I actually resonate with your opinion. I share a lot of that sentiment myself. Is that the future looks like a lot more isolated pockets of people doing their own creatives enterprises and coming together to co-create, and I think that's really like what brings me a lot of joy is like when I'm creating something creatively from like, okay, this is what we're going to do, and someone else goes, yeah, and I can help you with that, and oh, what about if we do this? Can you help me with this? And it's like we all co-create. And I think it's really interesting because when I think about co-creation, that feels like kind of what you're articulating in terms of different pockets of different enterprises coming together, more solopreneurs, more smaller teams of energies rather than big corporations. But when I was thinking about corporations, the word cooperation started sort of resonating in the back of my head. And I think about operations. And when you try to operate, there's this idea or element of sacrifice, perhaps. It's like, how can we best cooperate? Like, how can I operate while you're operating rather than how can I create while you're creating? It's like the energy is subtle, but it's slightly different, right?
Absolutely. And I love what you said. I was actually at a business event this morning, and we had a guy speak about the future of business. He considers himself as a business futurist. He's a coach and a speaker, and I think one of the top 40 futurists in the world. And what you're saying about the future of business, he just gave us so much content about all the change that's possibly coming. And he said, one thing that's really stood out for me was, he said, the last 30 years, if you think things have changed, like for example, over 3,000, I think 3,600 days ago, we didn't have the App Store. And yet, the App Store has created like Uber. Uber is valued at $190 billion today, and was started by two guys who bought an Apple card store for $50 and decided to hook up passengers with drivers. And here we go. We've got Uber. So
Liza, stop grounding us like that. So true.
So he was
so
freaking the room. I could feel and I could sense the energy in the room. Everyone's going, oh my God, what I do now is going to be completely redundant.
Yeah. Exactly. Like even when you think about like, so social media managing marketer is like is a job description. There wasn't social media like 15 years ago.
Exactly. And so the world is changing so fast. How do you stay grounded? Like, how do you try to deal with all this change? And so what you're talking about, co-creating and cooperation rather than this competition, that happens in the world, is it's going to start happening with one person at a time. Individuals like you, individuals like me, individuals out there that are going to really try to live from within. So I came up with 3 things. In fact, I came up with these 3 things. It's been on my mind, but 3 things after this guy spoke, because I could feel and sense the anxiety in the room and the overwhelm by, like, holy crap, what am I going to do? And how am I going to educate my kids? And what am I going to do? Because he said what has happened in the last 30 years, what's coming in the next 10 years, you can multiply it by 5. The shifts that are going to happen in the next 5 years are much faster than what's happened in the last 30 years. So number one, I really think what you're doing, Amrit, and what a small group of individuals are doing is living from within. What that means is, number one, really digging deep and saying, hold on, I've lived this particular way all my life. I need to go back inside and figure out what really fulfills me. So that's letting your dreams drive you. And that then your dreams, Amrit, are not going to be the same as my dreams. It's not going to be the same as someone else's dreams. Then it's not competitions. It's cooperation, which means I can help you fulfill your dream. You can help me fulfill my dream. We're not going to compete for the same resources, which is what we've been taught, right? Survival of the fittest. And I think when we have a world where we're living from within, there's enough for everyone. There's enough resources for everyone. And so I don't have to, other than the essential resources, but I truly think, so now that's why my design a life is so important for me, because if I want the same things as you, like real estate, I want a big house, you want a big house, then we're competing for the same stuff. But maybe I don't want a big house. Maybe I just love living as a minimalist, right? Then there's no competition because I'm living from within. So that creates cooperation, not competition. And number 2, I think someone, like if you look at yourself as an example and myself, we took a leap of faith, right? We took a massive leap of faith to say, I quit a 6-figure corporate career that I was actually, when I quit my corporate career, I was at the peak. Like I had just landed the job, the title, the role that I'd been working towards for like 16 years. And I went to work for 3 days and I quit. So I like to take such, I'm not saying everyone has to take such a huge leap of faith.
No.
But I was moved to do that. And I think sometimes decisions are taken out of you when you're living through an inspiration, you're living through a dream. When you're living through the first thing that I said, through your dreams, there will come a point where you will have the guts to jump and have that leap of faith. But the first thing is you have to start defining from within what is it you want. And it may necessarily be not like what the advertising tells you or what your neighbor tells you. It's what you know for yourself, and it's a knowing, not a belief. It's a knowing. And then number 2, leap of faith. And I don't know if it's too early to get into this, but these 3 points. Number 3, which has been a massive impact in my life, and I think if we did this every day, is to live in a state of gratitude, which keeps you present. So you cannot look at the future and live through your dreams and say, when I have my dream, I'm going to be grateful and I'm going to be happy. And I know it's a cliche and everybody says it, but there was a time in my life where I was building my business, my husband was building his business, and financially it was really challenging. It was really tight, that the only thing that got me through the day, every single day, was gratitude. And I would journal sometimes 5 times a day. A list of things that I could see, touch, feel, smell that I was grateful for. My health, my kids' health, my home, my the love that I had in my life. The fact that I didn't have to think about where the food was going to come from, even though just those things, just being in a state of gratitude brings you present. And so I think that the state of cooperation that you're talking about has to happen first with being in a state of like just going within and living from within, which means then you and I are not going to compete for the same stuff.
Well, I firmly, this is a big part of with my coaching clients. This is kind of square one. Exactly what you're sharing is square one. Is same sort of energy. I go, like a lot of our dis-ease sets in from being someone that we're not.
Yes.
And fundamentally, like people come to me, and so I've got meditation clients as well as life coaching clients. But with meditators, I completely, people are like, oh, how do I meditate? And I'm like, you tell me how you meditate. And they're like, what? And I'm like, no, you tell me, because there's 7.6 billion of us on the planet. So there's at least 7.6 billion ways to meditate, because my perspective of the universe is not the same as your perspective of the universe. Otherwise, one of us is obsolete, and there's no way that any of us is obsolete because everything is perfect, right? So what is your expression is uniquely your expression, but I think that's where a lot of dis-ease sets in, and we become uncomfortable when we're trying to be something we're not. And a lot of us want to have the big house, want to have the C-suite job and all that sort of stuff. And, to a lot of people, what you shared is like, like you just landed the ideal job, or like, for somebody else, but that was someone else's expression of what is ideal, but your own expression is so self-rewarding. And I think the way you describe it, living from within, is an absolute blessing to share it that way. And then the whole,
when you get there, you don't, I come from, I'm a bit older than you, but my generation, we went to university, we worked really hard, and we got the title, we got the job, we got the house, we got the car, all that stuff. And so many people I know from that life, we get what we want. Yes, you'll get whatever you want, but you're not fulfilled. And that's where the dis-ease comes in place. And in fact, I know your story about the fact that you suffered from depression for a while. Jim Carrey has a great video on what depression is. And he says, basically, your depression is your body physically telling you, get lost. I can't live like this false self anymore.
Yep.
And that's really, your body literally can't move anymore and be this fake thing. So you're absolutely right.
Yeah, it's the same message, like a lot of people come to me really stressed, and it's, stress is I love stress. It's talking, it's your body and your environment communicating to you that please realign. Everyone's like, I'm so stressed. And it's like, can we realign you then? Like at what point do you stop to listen to your stress? But yeah, like there's this, something you were sharing is like focusing on like, I really wanted to get a how out of you, which is you said focusing on your blessings helped you bridge into like, into what was coming next. And like, how do we take that action? And because I know, it's one thing to take the action. Obviously, I'm inspired by your story, and I've woven a similar path in terms of letting go of my job. But what do you think was at the core of how you took that action? So, if I may, I try not to preface too many of my questions, but for me, like it was a meditation on that whole year before I left my corporate role with the 6 figures income. It was a matter of I discovered what the meaning of courage was. I thought courage was fearlessness. And I accidentally, I don't know what inspiration, I was sitting there in front of my phone and I just Googled courage. And what popped up was actually courage is having fear and taking action in spite of the fear. So I was like, oh my God, this whole time I've been thinking courage is fearlessness. But really, courage is not having fear. It's about totally having fear, but then leaning into it, and just, that was such like like that completely, that was that moment that you had, staring out, from the 31st floor in Canada. I think that was like a similar moment that I had where I was like I'm just going to have to take this moment to create a ripple effect and, like let that ripple into my life and start walking the way that I know that I really am inherently meant to. But do you have any how-tos in terms of like how to really take that action, or like really, I know you said like to get really clear on what's going on for you inside, any how-tos in regards to that?
Yeah. I mean, I think what you did is incredible. If people just did that, the meditation, going into silence is something that we don't, especially in today's world with so much information coming at you. really that's, if you're listening and you want a how, do what Amrit does, like practice meditation. And it's a practice, not perfection. So practice it, because it will silence that noise, and it'll help awaken the voice within. So yeah, definitely, if you want some clear hows on what I did, or I really didn't think about the how when I was doing it, but now when I go back, I look at about how I did it, and it comes from another defining moment when jumping from corporate life to really designing my own life and living a life on my terms. I was leaving Toronto, and of course I was saying goodbye to a few, and we were moving back, a few friends. And there was a colleague I really respected and admired, and she's very high in the education world. She said, Liza, I have to see you for a few minutes before you leave. I know you're really busy, but I'll come to you and we'll meet at the coffee shop downstairs. And so we went to Starbucks downstairs, and we met up, and she gave me and she said, I was in such a rush, I don't even have much of a gift to give you, but this is the only gift, this is the only thing I have, and I want to give this to you. And she didn't know she was going to give me one of the best gifts I've ever received in my life. She thought it was insignificant, but I still have it. It was a metal bookmark with that famous quote, go confidently in the direction of your dreams, live the life you've always imagined. Right? And we all know that quote. And and she gave it to me, and we hugged and we said goodbye. And I walked back to my desk in my office, and I looked at the bookmark, and I thought, wow, I'm actually not doing that. I'm not confidently moving towards the direction of my dreams. And then I thought, my goodness, I don't even know what my dreams are. And it was just that moment. It's not like, I had, but it was a defining moment. So I will forever be grateful for that gift, because it woke me up in that set moment. So when I came back, when I moved to Australia, I actually, if you want the how, I kind of went through it before, but
yeah,
just give yourself the permission to dream. Just give yourself the permission to dream, because until that moment, I didn't even know what I wanted. And sit down and write a list of all just uncap. I know that a lot of books tells you this to do this, but I'm telling you, it works. Uncap and just write all the things that you would love your life to look like, and put feelings into it. What would it feel like for you to get up in the morning and kind of decide what you wanted? What would it feel like if you could take 4 trips a year? What would it feel like to not have a boss? Well, I don't know what it is for you. I was actually speaking to someone. I met someone at a party on Saturday night, and she really wanted a relationship. I'm like, well, put the feelings down. What would it feel like to be in a relationship with someone who loved you? So let yourself, people don't, and she's like, I never thought of it that way. Wow. Like, to actually, yes, because people don't give themselves the permission. It's like, okay, it's all about that. I've got to do this. I've got to do this. I've got this checklist, and I've got to make sure I get my degree. I've got to do this. And it's all about the doing, and not the being that we're created to be. We're human beings, not human doings. And so the number one thing I would do is give yourself permission to write a list. Today, sit down, write a list. And if you want to go a step further, put the feelings into it. What would it be like to have those things? What would it feel like, the feeling? And if you want to go even a step further, create a vision board. We get together as a family and we create our vision board for the year. We put pictures, we look at the things we want. I'm telling you, all those things get ticked off. And so that would be the how. Because what that does is, as an example, if I give you an exercise, Amrit, to go out into the street and look only for red cars, you're only going to notice red cars, right?
Reticular activating system.
Yeah, it's basic stuff, but we don't give ourselves permission. You're going to not notice the white car, the black car, the whatever other car. You're only going to notice the red cars. Well, when you start to dream and you start to actually write it down, the power of writing and the power of visualizing, or just putting some feelings to it, even just writing it down, you will notice opportunities. So I wrote down, one of my dreams was, I want to be able to work from home. I want to be able to completely be online, so a laptop lifestyle. I want to make sure that I determine my own income. Most importantly, I wanted to make a positive difference in the world with whatever I do. And I wanted to make sure that it has residual and passive income involved. I had no idea what kind of opportunity was going to give me that.
Yeah.
Literally within a couple of months, the opportunity presented itself, and I did not even know. So don't just to start with your dreams. Start giving yourself permission. That's the best thing you can do.
I love that. I think what we're coming to is like not so much, don't focus too much on the how. There are certain things to be done, but it's through getting really clear on your why and perhaps what it looks like and the feelings that are behind that, you know, and letting that fuel the fire. Okay, so we're talking about writing and feelings right now. So like there's obviously so much to talk about in terms of writing and feelings. I know there's a whole thing that you're doing around that.
Yes.
So tell us more. I could taint it, but I want it from your brush.
In terms of what are the feelings for achieving what you want?
No, in terms of like, I know that there's a big part of, you know, what you're sharing is, you know, there's, especially gratitude, and you're sharing gratitude by sending out these little moments of like real appreciation for people, like actually writing down your feelings and actually like providing an avenue for people to communicate that where otherwise there's a lot left unsaid, right?
Right. Yes. Is it okay for me to speak about what it is exactly?
Please. Yeah, exactly.
So I think there's been, again, a few defining moments in my life that has helped me see and understand the power of connecting to human beings with the written word. And, you know, there's been many, but I'm not going to go through them. Most importantly, my father really instilled in us the power of just that, you know, expressing gratitude to someone and how that would transform their life. And, you know, he would sit there and write Christmas cards and thank you cards and things like that. I picked up that habit myself, but I was falling out of the habit. And for similar reasons that everybody else does, we don't really send that much mail because it's too difficult or we can't find the stamp. And when I found out about a service that I could actually use high tech, which is, you know, my computer, and be able to send out gratitude to my family and friends and celebration. Really, Amrit, life is about connection, celebration, and appreciation. If you can do those three things daily, connect with people, you know, and celebrate people. Yes. You know, we celebrate people when they die and say all the nice things about them. But, you know, we need to do it whilst they're alive.
Totally.
And then appreciate people. Then, you know, what that does is it doesn't just build others, it builds you, because we get these hits of serotonin in the brain for doing nice things for others. So anyway, when I discovered that there wasn't actually an answer to this challenge that I was having to be able to send out tangible cards in the post, and I found a service, and then I was able to build a business around it, I was like, what? Like, I know I want to do this daily, but I can actually inspire the rest of the world to do the same. But one of the major areas that we've been able to provide a lot of assistance with, and this is another passion of mine, is inspiring the business world to give them something that they truly need. You know, with all the stuff that we talked about, all the digital stuff, all the technology, blah, 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 like for the average small business owner, it's so tough to figure out where to spend their marketing budget, which is really tiny. Where they're going to spend their marketing budget to be able to get their message out to the world. And we talk to them about, you don't need to promote. You need to just create emotion. So we talk about appreciation always wins over self-promotion. Don't promote yourself. Appreciate your customers. They're going to appreciate. Appreciate your network. They're going to think of you. Appreciate your prospects. You know, if you go to a business proposal and all you do is just send them a card and say, I really appreciate your time. I know you're really busy. It doesn't matter whether we get the business or not. I just really appreciate the fact that you took the time to listen to us. Mic drop.
I'm smiling ear to ear because I cannot. Yeah, you know, when we first connected and we had this conversation, I'm just in awe of, like, one thing that I've continuously learned throughout this journey of podcasting as well is that the truth is always really simple. You know what you really need to do? The minute stuff starts getting complicated, it's like, oh, someone's agenda's in there, But if it's the truth, it's really simple. And I'm absolutely in awe of how you're bringing just appreciation and gratitude to organizations, right, as a way for them to be better received publicly. And that serves as way better than marketing. They're just appreciating their clientele that they've already got. They're appreciating the people that they want to work with. Like, we really respect like where you are, what you do, and you're providing a service where it's, you actually send them a nice gratitude card, and then there's just like, and like I received one from you, and I can tell you it's such a nice feeling. It actually feels like a lost art. It actually feels like a lost art. But even in that, there's that essence of lost. It feels like it's something that's so innate to the way that we are, that when you build that connection, it's so gratifying inside. And like you said, like, it ticks all the right boxes for you and your neurochemistry over there, but then it does all the right things for me as well. And like to feel that, like, obviously your business is going through rapid growth, and I think it's a reflection of, like, just where business is at the moment and what's coming forward as the nature of the next iteration of soul-centered, businesses and the way forward.
Well, I mean, there's the results also speak for itself. As you know, like, marketing returns, the dollars that's spent on marketing and the returns are getting lower and lower. So the how we're able to help our clients is just phenomenal. But other than just business, so it's really about inspiring the business world, about thinking about connection rather than just, I need to get this business. There's this desperation that happens with marketing, and frustration. But really, if we step back and just connect with people, and in history, I'll just share a quick story. Joe Girard, who's in the Guinness Book World Record for being the best salesperson that has ever lived. His record is still unmatched. Was in the Guinness Book World Record 11 years in a row, and he outdid every sales. I don't know if you know about Joe, but he outdid every industry. And guess what? He was a car salesman. And what he did, I know. He sold an average of 6 cars per day, no fleet. And he never sold a car. In fact, people would make appointments to come and buy a car from Joe. But Amrit, if he met you, even if you came to the dealership, or he met you at a game or somewhere else, he would grab your details, and you would never forget him. Not because he added you to his newsletter, but because he sent you 12 cards a year, and he had 4 full-time staff helping him because he had so many people in his contacts. And he just appreciated you, celebrated you, and connected with you. Now, there is technology now that allows us to do that really quick. But guess what? Within seconds, you're forgotten. And as soon as you're in somebody's mailbox, nowadays it's kind of annoying because we get so much mail. Yeah. The tangible touch, the actual touch and feel of something is becoming even more important than it was in the past, because people are, I say we have information constipation because there is so much information. I have clients who don't even read their own newsletter, let alone sending them out to a network then expecting them to read it. So for simple things, I know you're still laughing about that, but it's true. It
is true. It's funny because it's true. Yeah.
So we're really inspiring, helping the business community by helping them connect, celebrate, and appreciate. And the tangible touch is so important. But the bigger picture, Amrit, is the vision that we've got is bringing, the human race together through kindness.
Yep.
Really, if you're in business and you send someone a genuine thank you that's a tangible, and that person's having a bad day, can you imagine the ripple effect that your card will have? So they will suddenly feel like, wow, I'm appreciated. And then they may make a different decision in the way they talk to their employees. They may make a different decision in when they go home and the way they interact with their families and their kids. So the ripple effect, and then I just can only imagine if millions of people did this per day and just, authentically and genuinely showed appreciation, connection, and celebration. That's world peace, my friend. It's just one way, but
it's so true. It's so simple and it's so true. And there's so much to what you're sharing that I'm just, I'm in awe of, I'm inspired by. I'm so grateful that you're doing this work, It's, and I can, part of me just also sees that, the people that are open to gratitude are really they can have that impact on each other. And like you said, the ripple effect into other people. And then that has the opportunity to co-create so many amazing things. It's almost like that conversation coming full circle. So in terms of gratitude, I'd love to ask you, what is the thing that you're most grateful for?
The thing that I'm probably the most grateful for is I'm a believer, and I believe in a higher source that really is. I don't know what I would do without it. So whenever I'm in a tough spot, I I just release my responsibility out to the universe and say, I can't deal with this. I'm sorry. I need your help. And to be able to have access. So, and as you said before, the most significant things are simple, and yet we complicate it with so much stuff. But it is that simple. And quite honestly, in the most challenging moments in my life, or sometimes in the day, you have great moments and challenging moments. But if I just stop and just tap into that source, and just say, I can't deal with this right now. Show me the way, or help me out. Let me know. What do I need to do? Or I don't even need to do anything right now. It's, I can just park it. That's really something that I'm so grateful for. I don't know how I would live without it.
Thank you so much for sharing it. So beautiful. And is there something, before we weave out of the episode, that you really want to share? I know we've been really deep throughout the episode already, but is there something that you want to share that's like a message in your heart to the listeners of the Inspired Evolution?
Well, I want to speak to that. I don't know if this conversation that you and I are having is going to have an impact on thousands, because I know you've got thousands of followers or anything, but yes, I'm really
we're all leaders.
But I whenever I speak or whenever I'm sharing, I think of that one person that this could potentially have an impact on, that they really need to hear a message. And you know what? I don't always know what to say that's perfect or whatever, but we become messengers of inspiration that comes through us. And so for whoever needs this, I know I sound like a broken record and I keep saying it over and over again. No. I just want to reach out to you and say, to give yourself permission to go within and just really design your own life, design the things that you want, and give yourself that right. I don't think we were born, surprise, surprise, I don't think we were born and put on this planet to pay bills. I know paying bills is important, but I don't think that's our true purpose, that we accumulate a bunch of bills and then work our whole life to pay them. That's not your purpose. And I'm not saying go out there and try to rack your brain about figuring out your purpose. Just give yourself permission to do and live the way that you think will give you most fulfillment. And what gives you fulfillment today will be different to what gives you fulfillment tomorrow, because you'll be on a journey. So give yourself permission. And then secondly, live in a state of gratitude. I can tell you that I'm in the business of gratitude, but also living in gratitude for what I have now has been the cause for abundance that I can only have imagined in my wildest dreams. And I know more is coming, and I know more is possible, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm humbled by it. But this is why it's so important to talk about it. It's so important to give this message to everyone. So if you're listening, I would say just give yourself permission to dream and live in a state of gratitude for whatever it is, and more will come.
Wow, thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. How does one reflect gratitude back to the messenger of gratitude?
Oh.
But really, Lisa, thank you so much for just the, I know you think you sound like a broken record, but the efficacy and the depth with which you share the simple wisdom that you do is so profound. It's so profound. And especially where I'm at on the podcasting journey at the moment, I've been realizing the importance of context as well as content. And so what you're sharing is really important. The fact that, you've got a thriving enterprise behind this stuff that is so yummy for the soul and so soul-centered, and the world is receiving it in such a positive way and light, is beyond humbling. So thank you so much for the walk that you're walking in this life. So on that note, I'm really grateful for all the work you've done on yourself and all the daring to dream, which is a big message I've been receiving that you've been doing. Thank you so much for your time and energy today. And I'm really grateful and wishing you all the best for what's coming up. I really have, please. I have one last question, which is by no means my least question, and it is beyond the name, Liza, beyond the jobs, beyond the cultures, beyond the skin suit. Who are you?
Oh, you put me on the spot. Who am I? I would say that I'm just here to serve. That's at the core. That's who I am. I'm here to serve. It's something that it's a private prayer that I often do is through a challenge. I always say, how can I serve through this? And so, if I can fulfill that, then, I think I've fulfilled my purpose.
It has been such a treat and a pleasure to have you here today. Just finally, for those that want to get in touch with Liza, what's the best way for them to reach out to you, sister?
You can, I love text messages, so just send me a text at 0424890506. If you email me, I probably won't notice it because I get so many emails. So text message is great, and I'll respond to you. The other way you can connect with me is on Facebook, just my name, Liza Joyan, or LinkedIn. Through my name is fine as well.
That's LizaJoyan.
So Liza, Lisa, Joyan, Joyan.
Yeah.
And through those mediums, I can only deal with two modes of social media, LinkedIn and Facebook, but hopefully more will come. And then you can send me a text. I'm happy to for anyone to reach out.
But you're accessible because I call you, so.
You can call me anytime, Amrit.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate. And I just want to say to the listeners, follow this guy because he's really one of the things. Can I say something nice about you?
I'm
going to show appreciation to you now.
Keep me humble.
When the first time I ever spoke to Amrit, I spoke to my husband and I said, I met this, young guy and he's in Melbourne and he's just incredible. He's really going to make a big difference. He's linked with Mind Valley and doing some incredible things for the space of really inspiring people to live a life to their fullest. And, the thing that I noticed about you, Amrit, that's really unique is you live a life that's in surrender. And that a lot of people don't do that. And so I just want to commend you for recognizing that and surrendering to whatever comes your way to be able to serve through that. And you are serving the wider community, a global community. So congratulations on all your success. And I'm so glad I could just be a tiny part of it. And I appreciate you've been having me on the podcast.
Thank you so much. It is so humbling to receive that. And thank you for inspiring the evolution. It's all this is, there's no small part. It's all guiding forward. And I really relate to the idea of service. It's my faith, so I'm really grateful to share that energy and that vibe with you today. And so thank you so much for sharing your message.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for tuning in to the Love of the Inspired Evolution and sharing the Love of the Inspired Evolution. If you feel like this content has supported you or may support anyone else that you know may resonate with the content of it, please share away and share the love around. Thank you guys so much. And to stay up to date on whatever's coming out with the Inspired Evolution, please subscribe. There's all these links in the bio for you to tune into the episodes and all these different platforms, just so that message can get to you and your loved ones. Thank you so much for all your love and support. Stay inspired to evolve.